Someone wrote, and I think it's probably the most honest of all of them, large sums of money.
Is that a hobby?
Well, whether it's a hobby or not, I feel like a lot of women would really be turned on by that. Spoken is like good for shidduchim. If he would have extended those shidduchim, would have lost it.
Sarah and Max, an unlikely pair in this wild podcast, they're the perfect flair. Sarah charms, so feminine and free, a Cali girl spirit under the podcast tree. Max a strong force with a punch in every word. Together they navigate the dating absurd. Don't forget to hit subscribe, join the crew for more laughs and tales just for you. Now back to the show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Good for Shidduchim. I am your host, Sarah Levine. I have my co-host with me, Max Landisman. Welcome back to a season 2. We have a lot in store. I know we took a little bit of a break. We're back, we're refreshed. We have our summer tans and we are just ready to go. So for this episode, we wanted to thank our friend Uri Strauss. He came up with this great idea. And we really thought it was an interesting topic to talk about. We did want to thank everybody who has subscribed to our page, who has liked us, who has given us 5-star reviews. We really appreciate that. People who have reached out to us in our emails. We try to get back as soon as we can, and we take everything into account. And yeah, just overall, we really do appreciate the love and support that our viewers and subscribers really bring to us. So we can't do it. We honestly can't do it without you. I mean, we could, but it's nice.
It's not as fun. It's just not as fun.
It's nice to see the support. So we do thank you for that. And as always, if you want to visit us on our Instagram page, it's Good for Shidduchim. And our email is goodforshidduchim@gmail.com. And yeah, without further ado, I guess we should present this topic.
Absolutely. And again, shout out to Uri Strauss, a longtime fan of the podcast. And he actually just bought a t-shirt from us. And I was over by his house over Shabbos. The shirt is like, it actually came out great. The shirt came out super soft. And we appreciate it, Uri. And Uri wanted to know about hobbies, right?
Yeah, so he brought up a very interesting topic. I think maybe we have touched upon it, but we really haven't delved deep into it. And that was basically the topic of hobbies. And I think it does fall flat, this specific topic, because maybe people feel like maybe their hobby is like not considered a normal hobby, or they feel like it's more
what's normal nowadays, right? Who cares?
Right, exactly. But or they feel like it's not really talked about. So I feel like a lot of people are more like skeptical about when to bring up their hobby or something. But I think
you think
what
so?
Uri was what?
You think people are afraid to bring up a hobby?
100%
on a day? Really?
100%.
Interesting.
Yes. So Uri was bringing up the topic for us in terms of when to integrate hobbies into conversation, what type of hobbies are considered normal hobbies, what is considered a hobby, and what are the red flag hobbies you notice to look out for. So we did want to talk about that and thought that was very interesting.
That is interesting. I definitely have a lot to say on that. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to take it away first, or you want me to go first?
Well, go for ladies first.
Oh,
I'm a gentleman.
Thank
I'm a gentleman.
You. So I Googled like what is actually considered a hobby, because I do feel like a lot of people bounce the word around a little loosely, maybe.
It's something you do in your spare time, no?
Right. Yeah. No, so it's basically anything you do in your spare time. So anything's really a hobby. I even have down shopping. Shopping apparently could be a hobby. But there were really cool hobbies. Hobby. Yes. But there were really cool metalworking, glass blowing, wine
What about
making.
Woodworking? What about woodworking? What the heck?
Woodworking is on there. I wasn't going to say it because I was going to save that one for you.
Fine.
But yes, woodworking, brewing. I thought was very interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
Blogging. So what we do obviously is a hobby,
It is a hobby.
and
Yeah.
creative writing. I don't know. I just thought that those are like a fun intro hobby list.
That is very
But
true. I
yeah,
think it's very rare to hear those types of hobbies on a shidduch date. That I will tell you. So what's your
for
hobby?
sure.
I feel like most people don't have hobbies especially when you're younger. If you're like in your 20s, they don't have hobbies.
But can you imagine though, like if you're sitting across from someone and they're actually like, I really enjoy doing archery. That's fascinating. I would
That
find
is
that really
fascinating.
cool. But
I
I
think
feel
that
like
is
in
cool.
some circles, they'd be like, that's just weird. It's just not done. It's just not
Well,
normal.
I hate whenever it's brought up. It's like, well, doing that is not normal. It pisses me off to the nth degree. It really depends on um something that in the secular world would be considered normal, but in our world it's like, well, it's not normal to go archery. It's bullcrap.
Well, anyways, so I was going to bring up when to bring up hobbies. I think it's very interesting to talk about hobbies honestly on your first date. Like start right there. Like what sets you apart from someone else. You really don't know. And also sometimes you often have the same hobbies. Um and when I would go out and people would ask me my hobbies, I really enjoy the theater. And I would tell them like I really like museums. I really enjoy ballet. I was really into the New York
Ballet.
Ballet Theater. I was into
Ooh,
Broadway, the symphony, Philharmonic Symphony, like any show I could get, I would definitely do. A lot of guys that I told this to, um, it's not like I was expecting them to be impressed, but it sounded like they were, like, labeling me either as, like yeah, like, not a lot of girls in my circles say that's their type of hobby, you know? They're just not used to that type of hobby, but when I mentioned it to your brother when we were just talking, it actually happened to be our first date, was a hobby that I really enjoyed, and it also turned out to be, something he also enjoyed as well because it was a shark exhibit too,
shark exhibit,
so
right?
so I mean, it worked in my it can definitely work in your favor, and I do feel like I d it's hard it's what I'm trying to say is that it's hard to hear, like, people either had to drop their hobbies because of shidduchim, or they have to be so like hidden and secretive about hobbies, like even surfboarding or deep sea diving. Those are really really interesting hobbies, and I feel like when you bring them up on a date, somebody should be like, oh, tell me more about that. Like, that's really cool, I've never heard about that, instead of like labeling that person as, because I haven't heard about it before, that means it's weird, or it's not a hobby that she should be into or he should be into, because it's not like um a popular hobby. And I
Like
think that's how it is. Like there are popular hobbies and then there's like unpopular hobbies. So,
you personally have felt this way, because this is actually kind of news to me, where you would have to essentially either change your hobby or just not mention your hobby at all for shidduchim reasons. This actually is news to me. I
yeah.
really have dealt with
Yeah,
this,
I mean, I did feel that way before, and then like at one point I was like, "Oh, who cares? Like
because you go
this
to the
is what I like."
ballet. Seriously,
What?
because you go to the ballet.
Because I feel like it's more cultured, maybe, or it's just not talked about. Like hobbies just were not talked about.
That's interesting. I mean, like, I don't see
Unless it's
anything
like unless
crazy
it's like
about going to.
volunteering. Like, I like to
Oh, so
volunteer. I like to
and
do,
that's
like,
such BS.
flower arrangements as a
Yeah,
hobby. Like,
I
those
lo-
are the type of
let,
hobbies that people would find as popular hobbies. If a guy in, like, the shidduch dating world would be like, "My hobby is, like, being a connoisseur." Like, I really enjoy wine, so I like to go and be this wine connoisseur. They would look at that as like not a popular hobby. It's something out of the norm. It's not like, I don't know, what do you guys like to do? Like
I get
golfing.
that. They go. A lot of people go to games. They like going to sporting
Oh,
events,
baseball
whatever it is.
games,
Yeah,
sports.
baseball games, whatever,
Right,
football
baseball, a
games.
Yankee game. Like, oh, what's your hobby? I like going to a baseball game. Like, duh. I feel like that's the popular hobby, whereas in like brewing or woodworking, those are like not so popular. So therefore, they're just like not the normal hobby, and
Right.
it's kind of like off-putting.
So when you
So yeah,
so when you say off-putting, to who exactly? Because I feel
to
um
whoever's across the table from you.
like typically on the firmer side of this equation, or
Yeah,
like even
yes, specifically on the firmer side of the situation. I feel like they're a little bit more closed-minded as to like what you do in your spare time and how you spend your time.
like I could see women taking certain things the wrong way, such as if, as you said, someone likes wine and likes to go to wineries. That there are women that are very, very nervous about. Oh, that must mean that they're. I'm not saying everybody. That must mean they're an alcoholic, or they go to. For example, I just went to Monmouth Racetrack for my first time in my life with my parents. Like growing up, we went to the racetrack like just like something we do because it's fun. I
I'd
gamble, but
never understand it. I could
like I
I
put.
never understand it.
That's okay. We don't have to date, Sarah. But like,
But
record,
yeah,
for
that's
the
like a
record,
hobby. That's a hobby your dad loves to do, but like
I
I would
like to go
never
too.
understand. Oh yeah?
I like to go
Okay.
too. Yeah. Like there's nothing better. I mean, listen, horses are God's creations, but it's so much more fun when you have $2 on them. It's a lot more fun. But someone can construe that as, oh, this guy's a gambler. I guarantee you I'm not a gambler. Like if I lose $10, I feel like that's my limit or whatever it is.
Right.
10 or $20. Shlomi won't even gamble. Like Bichlal. He
No,
won't
he
gamble at
won't.
all. So I guess you guys have that in common. But deep down he likes it too. But yeah, that could be construed as like, oh, this guy's a gambler when it's totally not true at all.
Mhm.
I just do
But
it.
I
It's
mean,
fun.
then you can talk about the hobby and length and like and stuff like that. I mean, you can even bring it up and be like, like, do you feel like you always need to drink alcohol? Whatever. Then you can go down that road. But the fact is like, if you do bring up, like, I actually really do like going to a racetrack. Like, okay, so that's something to talk about. It's not necessarily like something to completely, totally disregard
Right.
and be like, I'm not going to go out with him because his hobby is XYZ.
Like to me, that's like crazy. It's actually, I've really have not heard about that often. Like when I think of hobbies in general, as it relates to actually getting married, I find that hobbies have almost nothing to do with actually having a real relationship with somebody. Meaning it's more about the value system. Like you guys want the same things. It versus like you like Snickers, I like eating Snickers, therefore it's a match. Like because we have the same quote unquote hobby. Like someone likes woodworking doesn't make them a match for me because I like woodworking. That doesn't. In fact, I
100%.
I think people who have the opposite type of thing I think is more interesting. So like I think hobbies overall have very little to do with the actual quality of the match itself. But again, like as you're bringing this up, as far as or Uri's bringing this up, does it actually affect anything? Like if someone hears about, I think that's just like a personal problem. Like if someone's just taking something too far, like, oh, he does that, no, that's not considered normal, therefore I'm not going to go out with him.
But I mean, I agree with you that hobbies itself are not like a um make it or break it point in a relationship. But I guess that comes up when Uri brought out like red flag hobbies. I personally don't know what those are. I can't think of any, but I feel like that's when those types of hobbies come up and you're just like, that is just a weird hobby. Maybe like a guy who collects like Barbie dolls. Something like that. Like
Then
my
that
hobby
would
is
be,
just collecting Barbie dolls.
I think that would be
Or
considered a weird hobby. Yes.
right. Or um I don't know what else. What would be considered a
I
red
could think
flag
of something
hobby?
such as, if someone's a daredevil, which I'm not actually saying is a necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but that you should be aware of it. Like if someone legitimately likes to jump out of airplanes on a regular basis and also like to take it even further, not just jump out of a plane, but wear those like, Superman spacesuits where you're legitimately flying through the air. which is very dangerous. Even professionals have unfortunately have gotten killed from doing it. I wouldn't, I don't know if I can say it's a red flag hobby, but if you're going to a relationship, just know that that is a thing. And if you are uncomfortable with it, then I could see that being a deal breaker for sure. Like if someone really doesn't like that and gets very nervous if, they find out their husband is jumping out of a plane, I could see that being a deal breaker, like a
Right.
legitimate deal breaker.
Right. I mean, right, to each their own. But I guess the thing is that you have to accept their hobby though, and you have to accept like, okay, what they're doing is like either like what they do or to pass their time is like I accept it. Like if somebody I know somebody who likes to build those ships in a bottle.
Okay.
Um, and it's an expensive hobby. Also Legos. I know that there's like a ton of Legos that
Really?
people
Like,
like to build.
oh yeah, like
Yeah,
adults?
there's like adult Legos that are really difficult to build.
Nice.
And those can be expensive too. So like your spouse
Legos
has
are
to
very
be
expensive. Yeah.
yeah, so your spouse
Yeah.
has to be like okay with it. But like if it's a hobby then and and it makes them happy, then I think like the spouse does have to be like the significant other has to be accepting of the hobby. But like um I don't know, like when you're going out, I don't think it's crazy to bring up something.
No, I of course not. I feel like I find it to be one of the first things you actually talk about is like, so what do you like to do for fun?
Right.
I bring that up all the time.
Right.
Um,
And you're looking for something that's not so generic. Like what sets when you're asking what do you do for fun? Like what do you do for fun? Like there's so many generic answers out there. Like what sets you apart? Like what hobbies do you have that set you apart from someone else? I mean, and you could have the same hobby, but it makes the person a lot more interesting, in my opinion. But again, like I guess it depends what type of circles you're dating in. And then you try to like hold back on the type of hobby.
like you're saying that if you're dating in the very from circles and and you like to use a hobby that typically would not be looked well upon, to what should you have them do? Just not talk about it at all and don't tell?
Well, I think that like a lot of people feel that they just should keep it a secret for a very long time. Maybe even drop that hobby if they
You're
are
saying that's how they
dating.
feel.
Yeah.
That's how they
That's
but what do you
it
think they
comes
should do?
from
What do you think they
oh,
should do?
I think what they should do is just tell them, like, if it's a
I would
hobby that
agree.
they really enjoy, if
I
it's a
mean,
hobby that they really enjoy and that,
of
they
course.
really feel passionate about, then, like and they can do it with without compromising a relationship, then, like, go ahead. Like,
Totally. I mean,
that's what makes you happy.
when you think about it, starting a relationship with a lie, I don't think leads to good things.
Right, but is it a lie if they just stop doing the hobby?
I think it will. So then I feel like it's in a different category. Like I genuinely feel that everyone should have a hobby. Unless you're the gadol ador and that's all you do is learn. Like everyone most likely is going to have some free time, or just even if they don't have free time, just something for their own sanity to just do something that they really like for themselves. And I feel that everyone should have their own hobby. So I guess when you say like if they give up a hobby that they truly genuinely enjoy because they feel they have to for shidduchim reasons, I do feel that it will bite them in the behind later down the road.
Right,
That they're going to become so suppressed on their own, like they're just not themselves.
right.
You're basically lying to yourself in a way. I find it to be absolutely ridiculous to this whole shidduchim whatever that you got a hot. It's not even like you're doing anything wrong. It's just a hobby. It's something that you enjoy doing. It's not against the law. It's something
Right,
fun,
but
but just
people
because
are like told not that it's like that it's wrong, that like you should just like do it in private. And then like maybe when you start dating, maybe you shouldn't tell him just yet.
I don't get that. I just don't get it. Like whatever happened to Dominic Schluss, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But
Down the
you talk
Kostkos.
Dominic. Seriously, like I don't know. Someone's like, I like to make beer. Like I don't see anything
Right.
wrong with it. I find it to be very interesting. right? But I could definitely see someone taking it the wrong way. It's like I can't
Or
be with someone
martial
like that.
arts, I think is pretty cool. Fencing,
Fencing.
that's
That's
pretty
hilarious.
cool. I don't
Well,
know how
listen,
to do that.
neither do I. You could be in the next Gladiator movie.
Oh my gosh.
But martial arts is definitely good for shidduchim. You get to protect your woman,
Oh yeah. Ooh,
100%, or
or
protect yourself.
also or doing a mixologist.
Right, for all the alcoholics out there.
Well, no, if they enjoy
No,
making
I know. I'm just
drinks.
messing. Of course,
Right, but if
you
they
do your
enjoy
own. You do your
making
thing.
drinks,
Like I'm not a drinker. If someone I'm dating is like, I like to do that, I'm like, go for it. I don't care. What difference does it make?
right.
Do your own thing.
Yeah. No, I feel like it should be always talked about. I feel like it should be brought up at like any time on the first date, second date. I don't feel I mean, I feel that people should feel comfortable to just say, what they do. And you may be a little nervous if it's like a little out of the ordinary, but then it can spark really good conversation. And then if the other person um is judging you for your hobby, then that's your answer. Then you don't have to date them anymore. That's like your finalized answer. They don't accept your hobby, they don't accept you. So, I mean, that's in my opinion. I would just be like, "Okay, well, I know I know that there's not going to be a second or whatever, a third date, but like at least it's clear as to why." So you have a little bit of clarity.
I think it's one of the main reasons why we do this show is to call things out for what they are, to kind of make things hopefully a little bit better. And one of the things that we do talk about often, which relates directly into what we're discussing right now, is this notion that everyone's got to be perfect. And like in my spare time, I only do chesed. It's very nice, but let's
Right.
say you actually have a real hobby. The fact that you have to hide that or not say that is ridiculous. You're trying to live this fake life, which doesn't exist. I think it's a hell of a lot better and a lot healthier, especially for the
Mhm.
relationship. It's also another way to connect, to just be yourself. It's nothing.
Right.
It's like so absurd. Like if you take yourself out of this, I guess, bubble, like it's absurd to even think like, wow, okay, we can't talk about hobbies on a date.
Right. No,
You're
I
in the
I, I definitely agree.
How was it in the Upper West Side about hobby? I'm not making fun of the Upper West Side right now. I'm being
Okay.
actually for real. But like, did they care about hobbies at all? Like, did they accepted
Yeah,
whatever? Because nobody cares. I don't know.
nobody cares. And like there was like a group of people that actually like to like reenact like Renaissance times. They would go to Central Park. So that was something. Well,
It's
that was
actually kind of
something
funny.
that everybody, like not everybody, but that group of people like found them like a nice group that had this similar hobbies and they really enjoyed doing that. So they would go to Central Park and I thought that was so nice. It's not my hobby, but I think it was really nice that those types of people they connected in that way. They connected through a hobby. And I think that's really great. And I think like on the upper west side, a lot of people looked into different types of classes that were offered just because being in that area, there's like a lot of different types of opportunity that is presented. So
Yeah,
if
you're
you
in the
want to
city.
take different types of if your hobby is dance, there's a lot of types of dance classes that are offered on the Upper West Side. So a lot of girls who were interested in dance, they would kind of go together to dance classes. People that were interested in exercise as a hobby, they would go to also different types of exercise classes that are offered. So, I mean, I think it was actually really nice. It was something that, and hobbies on the Upper West Side brought people together. Like people were able to coordinate when to go do these hobbies together, and it created a little bit of, I guess, like a friend circle.
Camaraderie.
And if anything, the hobbies were positive and had people be kind of an outlet. There was like an outlet from like their day to day life, and this outlet really like helped them. And not only that, it allowed them to grow socially and like form friendships. And I thought it was really nice.
100%. There's a lot of benefits to that. I mean, it doesn't mean like I'm not going to make fun of the Renaissance Fair type stuff, but the fact that they do it is
I
great.
grew up going to the Renaissance Fair. It was always fun.
Oh yeah,
It
I'm
was
sure it is. I'm
so
sure it's
fun.
fine. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
But like, just because someone goes doesn't mean like, oh, you can't date them now or you can't date that person now. It's like it's a little excessive, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely an extreme. And I think it's like it's kind of being homogenous, I guess. Like kind of the same. You're trying to be so similar and so much of the same that I don't personally think that's such a good thing. Um and the fact that like somebody's hobby is just different, or something that they're very passionate about, can actually help a relationship. Imagine just like not being able to do anything. It's
I
kind
feel
of
like,
like
of course,
wah
especially
wah.
if you do something different than your spouse does. Um, like, even Ori himself, like sorry to put you on the spot, Ori, but like plays Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, there's
Uh-huh.
not a day that goes by that I probably don't make fun of it. The fact that he plays
What?
Dungeons and Dragons,
You play
Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, whatever.
But
That's his
but
hobby,
the
right?
I know exactly. I'm still gonna make fun of it, but the fact that his wife currently, I don't believe, ever played it before they met, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good match. Now they're happily married, and he kind of plays. He's got also. I was just there for show. He's got all these sorts of board games you've never ever even seen in the store, probably.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
really interesting, but
But yeah, board games, that's another hobby.
that doesn't right, and they're very interesting. But like he likes them, which is fine, which is totally great. I think it's actually a good thing. She may not have played this before, but now she kind of plays. She kind of took over from my spot and was kind of doing a lot better job than I was because I didn't
She's
really
very
know what was going
smart.
on.
She's very
Yeah, but
strategic.
like I think
Yes.
it's actually a good thing for the relationship rather than it being a negative. So I don't know why people are, you
Right.
got to be quiet
No,
about things, and
exactly. So
so it's
he brought an element into the relationship that she didn't have, and I'm sure that she brought in other elements into the relationship that he didn't have, and
right,
it was interesting. But she was accepting of his hobby,
right.
which is great. That's what makes it work.
And imagine if people don't have hobbies though. Now you're just. I feel like it is really important. Like if it comes to a time that's like it just becomes really boring. There's just
Yeah.
like nothing there. It's become stale. Like I feel like everyone's got to have like their thing like to them like for themselves, not just like you
Exactly, an
can't
outlet for yourself. It's all about yourself. The hobbies are like what brings you joy and what makes you comfortable, and what you enjoy.
right.
And if somebody doesn't understand that, or thinks it's weird, or is turned off by it, then like I said, I think that's definitely your answer. But Max, talk about your hobby.
Woodworking. What woodworking?
Yeah, it's a
You know.
cool hobby.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I just went to purchase New York to purchase something. To purchase a planer, and what a planer is, it basically smooths out wood. It
Oh,
makes wood
nice.
level. Yeah, when I went there, I was looking for it on Facebook Marketplace. It was taking me like forever because this
Mhm.
this is actually like generally pretty expensive. Like the cheapest one new is like $300. They
Oh,
typically
that
go
is
for
pretty
like
expensive.
500 or more, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And even the used ones are still like it still retains its value pretty well. So
Mm.
I ended up finding a really good deal in purchasing New York. So I went there, but I asked if I could test the machine out to see if it works as well. So I was there originally for the DeWalt, which is one of the higher. It's like I think it's considered like the Lexus of woodworking, from my understanding. Like it's not a
Mm.
Ferrari, but it's very very solid, very good. And so I was going there for there, and then the guy who's like he's a contractor and whatever. This is like he lives and breathes woodworking. Um, I brought like what I tried to make a cutting board out of. I glued it together and stuff. He takes one look at that. He's like, "This is awful. You made this?" Whatever. He made me feel like such an idiot. But
Oh.
inwardly I was like really insulted. But
Oh,
like
Max.
he later said he's like, listen, I don't mean it like that. I just it clearly you're just starting out at woodworking. I'm like, yeah. So he actually told me about this other machine, a Raycon. He's like, these things retail for like $800, and he put my board through it. It actually made it like all level. It makes so much
Mhm.
noise though. It's like incredibly loud. he gave me
Mm,
kind of like a woodworking tip, a couple of things that I should know, and I paid like 175 bucks for it, so I thought I got a hell of a deal. Because it really is hard to find, especially of that caliber. Like the one I was going for, he's like, it's got 4 blades in there. This one's got 24. This one's like a much
wow.
better machine for sure. He's
Right.
like, this is like what I use on like job sites. So I ended up
Wow.
buying this like industrial, not super. It's a heavy machine, but
You have to be
like
careful, Max.
yes, I try not to put my fingers in there. Yes, that is the goal.
Yes.
I'm
Don't
just
put your
it's an
fingers in there.
I mean, I would love to have like my own garage one day that I could just do woodworking and just have my space and make as much noise as I want and no one
Right.
cares to kind of build my
Yeah.
stuff. But I think it's a great hobby.
Yeah.
It's
And
definitely
and and the person, whenever you meet that person, you really want to make sure that she understands like how important the hobby is to you, and she wants to respect the hobby too. I mean, and you want her to respect the hobby too. So,
yeah, totally.
especially if it's expensive.
I really have never had an experience where one of my hobbies was an issue. Thank God.
Mhm.
Like I
No, you're lucky. You're lucky
like
because
I
I know like a lot of people hold back. A lot of people hold back
really
on it. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like even for you, like when you were dating, you're on the Upper West Side. You said the Upper West Side people don't care, whatever.
No, if I was dating someone on the Upper West Side, then it's different than dating someone
So you're
like
saying
dating.
if you were dating someone that you got set up with, you actually would not bring up I go to the ballet.
Yeah, depending on their hashkafa. Not on their first date. I wouldn't bring it up on the first date.
That's so interesting. I didn't even know like people would be scared to bring stuff up.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, for women, I know for women, I know are
Really? That's just
yeah.
like it's still a kind of it's still kind of crazy to
I'm
me.
not saying that it's normal and that like they should feel that way, but I know that a lot of girls feel, if they have a hobby that hush hush, keep it a secret.
I mean, do they do some crazy stuff or it's also like ballet and whatever?
Um well, it could. I mean, it depends what you call crazy. I mean,
What did they
if they
think they're
play an
doing that they think
instrument,
is
if
crazy?
they play like
Are you kidding?
an
Like that's a bad thing?
instrument,
Like I
not a
cannot
bad
understand.
thing,
I
not a
cannot
bad thing,
understand.
but maybe it's not the piano or the violin, maybe it's the drums.
Oh, bull crap.
Oh, what
Bull
happens if she
crap.
like plays the drums, you know?
So what? I think that's kind of why we do this podcast. It's like, stop trying to act like you're all this perfect, whatever. Nobody is. Just
Well,
act normal. Just act like yourself. Don't hide any. You don't have to hide. Whatever.
right.
Um, this is like I feel like very basic stuff. It's like, what do you like to do? I like to play. I like to play the drums. I'm like, and that's got to be suppressed. You can't like. I understand. It's like if someone's got a history or whatever, you don't have to bring up your entire life on the first date. But like the fact that they even have to do that for a hobby that shouldn't be judged upon for anything is outrageous.
Yeah. Wait, I kind of want to talk about more red flag hobbies. What are more
Fine,
red
go for
flag
it.
hobbies?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Um Maybe like what's it called? Drag racing, like street racing.
I hear that. I mean, how
That's a
often do you
bad
hear that? That's
hobby.
very, very rare. I've never heard that.
Okay, but that's
Um,
still I if somebody was like I like street racing, not like NASCAR safely racing cars. What's it called?
drag racing, you said?
But like, like on NASCAR when they go like in a circle, like what's
Yeah,
that called?
yeah.
Speed racing?
Whatever. Yeah, I guess.
That could be a hobby. Great. Don't do it on the street while I'm
Very,
driving.
very expensive hobby.
Right, but like if somebody was like, I like to do drag racing on the street. Uh, mm, don't know how I would feel about
I
that,
hear.
you know?
Yeah. Well, again, like if someone's like, I like to go to the casino once a week, I do think that's an issue. That's definitely an issue. Because
Always
that's
going
already
to a casino.
that's already like beyond a hobby. Me and like I go to the racetrack. I haven't been to a racetrack in like forever. I go like once, but like you're going every week.
Right,
I That's like a pattern of gambling. Like you're
right.
actually legitimately. I think that is a problem. Like you go
Or
once in a
like
while. Who
after work,
cares?
I always like to go just see the track or just to see the yeah.
Well, they're usually closing after about the time you're ending.
Oh, oops. Well,
So
Shows
that's
you how
fine.
much I know about that.
I know. You don't like horses?
I love horses.
So what do
Not
you
when
don't
they're
like?
being beaten to win.
What? Beaten? God forbid.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't think
But
of any kind of red flag. I don't know. I guess the only red flags is really like something that's dangerous to your life or something that could potentially lead to a very negative outcome, such as gambling or alcoholism or anything like that. But you know, but that's like excessive. If you're doing something excessively, then that's one thing. But like someone who's like who make like I know a lot of people who make beer aren't alcoholics. You know, it's I don't think that's
mhm.
crazy at
It
all.
also takes a very long time. So
It takes a long
it's
time,
like,
and it's nothing to do with you being a drunk. It has everything to do with you just like to create something.
mhm,
It's very different.
right. I
So
think
yeah,
that's interesting to bring up those. Like, is the hobby bringing joy to the person? Is the hobby, there to uplift the person, or is it there for a negative reason? Like, if you like to play blackjack, maybe people just love to play blackjack. But like, are you playing blackjack because you like to gamble?
right. And again, like if someone is okay with that, then by all means. But if someone is not okay with that, then I think that can be a red flag
Mhm.
because that could lead to a marriage strain. Like God forbid someone loses a lot of money or whatever, that is a problem.
Mhm.
Um, I think even if you're like a billionaire that he likes to get, but like if you that's all you're doing is doing that, like
Mhm.
I could see your spouse not really liking that, and
Yeah. Oh my god, I would also bring up skiing because I really enjoyed skiing.
you go went skiing, Pittsburgh girl went skiing.
Yeah, we went skiing a lot.
That's fun. I've never gone
Yeah.
skiing. Only went snow tubing,
Well, that makes sense. Miami kid.
but I still went snow tubing.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Skiing's a lot of fun.
They say it's
But
very
I
risky though.
of your body.
Yeah, that you can break your leg and whatever, and that.
It's pretty easy to lose control of your skis, but I mean that's why you train to learn how to ski, and then you go ski. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it.
All right, you'll take us skiing next time with Shlomi. Can't imagine Shlomi on
Where
skis.
where are we going skiing?
If you ever come back to
Um,
America for a day,
um, okay, yeah, skiing's good. Snowboarding, um, I've never gone snowboarding, but snowboarding, I would love to try out snowboarding.
I feel like you would have. I don't know. I've never done snowboarding or skiing, but I do feel like skiing. It seems like you have more control because you do have those sticks and you are on two separate things. Like snowboarding, you're kind of just like that's
People
it.
say you have more control on the snowboard.
Interesting.
It has to do with balance. I don't know. I've never done snowboarding, so I'm not so sure. If anybody who's listening has done snowboarding, please enlighten us.
Shtuchim.
Yeah.
Shtuchim. Yeah. By the way,
Or ice skating.
the
Yeah,
rabbi
I'm
called me out
sorry.
this past week on during the Shabbos drasha, and
Okay.
he's like, he told me before that I'm gonna name drop you. I'm like, make fun of me all you want, no problem. I thought he was gonna mention something about the luncheon, like we had a luncheon for like 170 people, but he really just he spoke and he's like, we have in our midst a very famous podcaster, Max Landisman of Good for Shidduchim. If he would have extended those Shidduchim, would have been phenomenal. I would have lost it. But
Oh
then
my
he's like,
god.
I want to ask Max a question. Max, is this week's parsha good or bad for Shidduchim? I'm like, it's great for Shidduchim. You can marry a non-Jew this week.
What did he say?
I don't know if he was expecting that, but everyone started laughing. It was a great lead up. I'm so glad I learned a little bit of the parsha beforehand, so I was prepared. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I didn't know what he was going to say, but it came out great.
Okay. That's actually really funny,
Yeah.
Max.
Shidduchim.
Yeah. So Uri also brought up a Reddit post about about hobbies that women find attractive. So Max, do you want to read some of those?
Yeah, sure. Because Sarah can't read a Reddit post. That's fine.
I cannot read Reddit. I don't know
That's
how
fine.
to do
Reddit is
it.
like really like interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get lost in Reddit pretty quickly. But yeah, what hobbies women find most attractive. If I were to ask you, is anything come to mind, or
I personally don't have like, a hobby that I would be really into for a man to do. I don't know.
like if Shlomi said, I like going ballroom dancing, you wouldn't find that attractive?
I would find it interesting.
Okay.
I would do it with him because I
Oh,
also enjoy dancing,
interesting.
but I wouldn't be like, "Oh, this man has my heart."
I hear you. So here's what, throw away the whole what FWB said. Anything you
Okay.
are genuinely passionate about. Don't just pick a hobby you don't even like. The love one
Mm.
has for their hobby is what is actually emotionally moving for me. Look at
Mhm.
this. I've gotten turned on by a woodworker. Of course, woodworkers, they're very, what can I say?
Mhm.
Dude obsessively checking wood for splits, nuts, etc. at a Home Depot. That's so funny. I totally can relate. But I totally can relate to this. Like, I can walk into Home Depot and just enjoy myself, just walking around. The level of attention, it's so true. We do look at the wood. The level of
Uh-huh.
attention and detail, him caressing wood, sitting on its side, so he could check the curvature of the wood grain, just like obsessive about it because he loved woodworking so much. Like, oh my gosh, I can't even read the rest of this because it's
Okay, don't
inappropriate.
read the rest of it,
But
but okay, this
it's not.
person is
It's
very into
so funny.
woodworking.
By the way, this is the first time I'm reading this. This is like phenomenal. I'm going to be talking all about woodworking now on my dates. It's not just a hobby; it's
Okay.
the passion that is sexy, according to her. I
Okay.
actually can totally get behind that.
I also could get behind it. It's not about the hobby, it's about how they enjoy the hobby. If they're really passionate about it,
Yeah, you know what? She
that's
writes.
what makes the hobby.
You know what she writes as the last line that I find hilarious. She's like, "I've had similar experiences with a plumber, a sailor, a horticulturist. I don't know what that is, and a car guy. I don't know. Let's just stick to the woodworking.
Okay.
Let's just stick to the woodworking." That she
Okay.
finds super attractive to just walk into Home Depot and just try to find the best piece of wood possible and whatever she finds attractive because
Mhm.
she
Well,
really
listen,
genuinely.
you date a guy who's really into woodworking and they know their stuff, like, there's
I'm trying to learn my stuff, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah,
What else do they
so
have on there?
someone wrote, personally, a sport or an instrument, they have to be half decent at it or better than me. So I say, wow, you are so talented. I feel like that's a little
Boosting the ego?
that, or just like, you must do X.
Mm, I
I don't
hear.
know. What do you think?
I don't know.
You must play a sport or you must play an instrument. I mean, they
I
are
mean,
like, go ahead.
she's saying she only will go out somebody who's who plays a sport or an instrument?
That's what it sounds like. She's like, a sport or an instrument, they have to be half decent at it or better than me. So I say, wow, you are so talented. It sounds like you must play an instrument or play a
Oh,
sport.
yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah.
Is there any more else? Any else?
Um, there's someone else, but then someone called them out for being very ChatGPT like, and I totally agree. It's like written too well.
Oh.
Um, Someone wrote, I personally find geeks attractive. My boyfriend is obsessed with comics and superheroes, and he collects comic books. I think that's attractive as hell.
Okay.
LMAO. That, it just, there's someone out there for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something else we missed, anime. I'm sure a lot of people are into anime.
I do know a story where, what's it called? Remember, I don't know if you, I don't think you were there, but I don't know if you were married to Shlomi yet, but we went to this camp. I'm going to leave out the names or whatever. And the cook, that it was on a campground, and we were there for Shabbos. And the cook was telling us like how nerdy he was, and that he actually met his wife because she was looking for a ride to Comic Con, and he gave her a ride, and that's all they spoke about was Comic Con, and
That's so
they
cute.
actually got married. So I could definitely see that being a thing. Um,
Yeah.
Live Funny 4648 said, whatever you're passionate about, but don't do drugs, alcohol, or sleeping with too many women. I totally get that too. Um,
Oh god.
I don't think anyone would like that either. But it
Okay.
sounds to be like it's a common thing about do something that you're passionate about, not necessarily what it is, but as long as you're passionate
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
Someone wrote lifting heavy things. I don't know. As a woman, what do you think?
I don't know, skip that one.
How about drawing and coding? I feel like drawing and coding is two separate things. because she's like, I love
Huh.
those hobbies. Any woman around here, like I don't, I don't get it. I mean, I get it. Like if you draw, but coding is like
Maybe
what you
she
do
likes
for
somebody who is a
nerds.
computer engineer.
I
I
hear
don't
something
know.
like that. Here, someone wrote, sports are always a great one. Physical energy and fitness is a big turn on. For example, I don't mind the computer type comic hobbies attractive at all. They would put me off. However, I'm big into history, so if a guy was visiting monuments and learning about them, I'd be into that. So it depends what kind of guy you are and what kind of girl you are looking to attract.
There
Um,
you go.
yeah, let's see. For me, anything artistic, and there's thousands of things that fall into that category. Someone wrote, and I think it's probably the most honest of all of them, large sums of money.
Is that a hobby?
Well, whether it's a hobby or not, I feel like a lot of women would really be turned on by that.
Yeah. Okay, read one more.
All right, it says here, it depends on the woman. I find it attractive when a man builds things, gardens, taking care of plants and animals, is into outdoor activities like hiking, camping, kayaking, canoeing, skiing, snowboarding, etc. And it's because I'm into all those things. I want someone with a similar lifestyle and hobbies that we can share. They can have other hobbies as well, but the ones I find most attractive are ones I'm also interested in. It's
Hmm.
interesting because we do talk about how, like, in general, like, I do find that hobbies have a don't have so much to do with actual match quality, but um she's looking. I hear that but I think it's you're really the connection. I feel like if someone connects with someone, they'll still, if your other half is asking you to come with you to I don't know, to do something, like, you probably would do it because you like the person. So like they can still do that other thing with you. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily like you have to be so good at it or I find it that you're interested in that hobby, just something that the other person that you can do together. I find that to be most important. I get what she's
Yeah.
saying, but I feel like it's a little bit too much. Like, okay, if they both go hiking, but that doesn't mean that if you're not into hiking that they can't start going hiking together. So
Right.
like, I don't put so much emphasis on what do they do for a hobby. If they don't go hiking, forget it. I'm not going out with them.
Right. No, I understand that part. Uri also brought up if someone doesn't have any hobbies, is that a red flag?
Um, I would actually ask. It's like, how old are they? Like, if someone's like in their 20s, like, I totally can see them not having a hobby, because could be someone's coming out of yeshiva or in college or whatever they're doing, and maybe they didn't have time for a hobby. I don't see that as a red flag at all. People can build hobbies. Um, I don't necessarily think it's like a red flag. You cannot get married if you don't have a hobby. I have a friend who was just in my office the other day who he mentioned his wife wants him to find a hobby, but that doesn't mean the marriage is good. Thank God they have Baruch
Hmm.
Hashem, a number of kids. But I do think for overall mental health, I do think having a hobby is very good. But I don't think it's like, if you don't have a hobby, it's like a super red flag that I don't think this can go on. I don't think it's like something extreme as other things. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, I kind of agree. I will say, like, unfortunately, like, I used to dance. I used to like do gymnastics. I did used to play piano, but like I don't that was not the best hobby. But I will say, like, the more I had schooling, and like the older I did get, I just had a lot more responsibilities, and like work was like crazy hours. I was working night shift, and like any time off, I physically couldn't
Slept?
get out of bed, and like
Yeah.
it was hard for me to put a hold on the type of hobbies that I did do. I tried, like, in college, they offered some classes that I could take, that I could still hold on to, grasp onto some of those hobbies. But I do agree with you. Just unfortunately, as you get older, it is harder in general to find time for things that make you happy. And when you have that spare time, it's like a big deal. So you're kind of like, what am I going to spend it on? And um I really respect the people that are able to keep their hobbies and able to just be like, okay, I have extra time. I'm going to do the hobby that I really enjoy. And they're able to keep like a steady hobby calendar, I guess I would say. But I do agree if somebody says, like, honestly, like, I've been so busy, I really haven't taken on a hobby. Um, I understand where they're coming from, and I wouldn't hold it against them, but if somebody was like, "I just don't like hobbies," or like, "I never had a hobby and I don't plan on doing something like that," then I'm like, "Oh, what? Oh, you've never like, in the past, you've never played any type of sports, you never played any type of instrument, nothing outside of school or, like, your day-to-day socialization, like, brought you joy, like, anything, like, then I wouldn't be like, "Oh, no," like, I wouldn't go out with you, but I would kind of wonder, but, I agree, I don't think just because somebody doesn't have a hobby at the moment is a red flag. I do think, like, a lot of people are very busy, and it depends on how they prioritize their scheduling.
Yeah, totally.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to our episode. We really hope that you enjoyed it. As always, please like us, subscribe to our page. Um, you can follow us on Instagram at goodforshaduchim and email us goodforshaduchim@gmail.com and leave us a 5-star review. Yeah. Bye.